Hello everyone, welcome to eVivekam. In this video, we will be having a detailed explanation on minerals questions of Yukti test series. Let us start the discussion. First question, which of the following minerals is used as a fuel for nuclear power stations and is found abundantly in India's monazite sands? The mineral found in India's monazite sands is a repeated question with respect to UPSC prelims. If you see the options, thorium, uranium, titanium and pitchblende. Yes, uranium is a radioactive material. We use it as a nuclear fuel. But this is not found abundantly in India's monazite sands. Actually, we import a lot of uranium because we lack in it. So option B is wrong. And coming to titanium, it is not a radioactive material. Actually, titanium is used extensively in aerospace industry and medical industry. Why? Because titanium won't corrode. In aerospace, when we are sending vehicles to space, the things which we use should be of high quality and they should be resistant to corrosion. So, as titanium is resistant to corrosion, we use it in airspace. And in medical industry, especially for dental implants, joint replacement, we use titanium. And I'll tell you one important thing and you remember it. As titanium won't react easily, we use it to store the nuclear waste. That is, nuclear waste storage systems are made of titanium. So, titanium is not used as fuel for nuclear power. So, C is also wrong. And pitchblende, actually, the pitchblende is ore of uranium. That's why it is also called uraninite. We get uranium from pitchblende only. If you see, both uranium and pitchblende are used as a fuel for nuclear power, but they are not found abundantly in India's monazite sands. Actually, thorium is found abundantly in India. In fact, India has one of the largest reserves of thorium. We find it lot in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So answer is A. This is the monazite sand. In this we find thorium. Next one. Which of the following rare earth minerals play a critical role in electronics and renewable energy technologies? First, we should have idea on what are rare earth metals. See, rare earth metals. The other name of rare earth metals is lanthanides. Though the name is mentioning rare earth, they are not rare. They are so much plentifully available on earth. But the problem is they are so much dispersed. That's why mining them is difficult. So we call them as rare earth metals. Total rare earth metals are 17. You have to remember this. These rare earth metals are used everywhere, especially in electronics. They have a lot of applications. So the question is, which of the following rare earth minerals play critical role in electronics and renewable energy? First one, graphite. See, we make pencils with the help of graphite. So we can't say that graphite is a rare earth mineral. If it is a rare earth mineral, why would we use it extensively in pencil manufacturing? So this is wrong. And if you see quartz, it is found extensively in sand. In sand, silica will be there now. Here we will find quartz. So quartz is also a rare earth mineral. Wrong. And coming to feldspar. Feldspar is actually the abundant mineral which we find in earth's crust. We use it for glass manufacturing, we use it for ceramic manufacturing, etc. So it is also not a rare earth mineral. So eliminate feldspar. So finally the answer is monazite. We have seen it in previous question also. In monazite sands we find thorium. Though we don't know the direct answer for this question, with the help of elimination we can get to the answer. Next one. Which of the following is a non-metallic mineral and is critical for India's ceramic industry? First, you should have idea about what are metallic minerals and what are non-metallic minerals. What is the difference between them? How can we distinguish them? See, metals will shine and they are mostly found in solid form. And the special thing is, they are conductors. They conduct electricity easily. So these are the properties of metallic minerals. The example is gold, copper, iron, etc. And if you see, these are malleable and ductile. You should remember these words. Because in UPSC previous questions, there are statements like metals are malleable and ductile. What does malleable and ductile mean? Basically, if we can turn that metal into thin sheets, we can tell that this metal is ductile. We generally see gold sheets and iron sheets now. So these are metallic minerals because they are ductile. And malleable means we can make thin wires out of them. We see copper wires, iron wires. So these are called metallic minerals. These are properties of metals. If you see non-metals, these are brittle. We can't twist them and make thin sheets. We can't turn them into wires, and they won't shine also. And especially they are insulators. Means they won't pass current through them. And they can be found as solid, liquid and gas. So these are the properties of non-metallic minerals. If you see the question, they are asking among mica, chromite, copper and tungsten, what are non-metallic minerals? We all know that copper can be turned into wires. So it is malleable. If a mineral is malleable, then it is called metallic. The question is asking non-metallic, so we can eliminate copper. And coming to tungsten, if you remember in the bulbs, we see a thin filament here. This is nothing but tungsten. Means tungsten in itself is a conducting material. Means it conducts current. If it conducts current, then obviously it is a metal. So we can eliminate tungsten also. If you see chromite, chromite is majorly used as alloy of steel. We know that steel is a metal. If we are using something as an alloy of steel, it also should have been a metal. So this is also a non-metal. See, I will tell you something. We all hear of stainless steel, right? What is this stainless steel means? Basically, stainless steel means rustless steel. And to improve the property of steel, we add various metals. That is, if we want steel to be resistant to corrosion, then we will add chromium in it. This chromium plus steel material won't corrode. And if we want steel to be strong, then we add nickel in it. And if we want steel to bear the high temperatures, then we add tungsten in it. These are called steel alloys. Why I am telling all these means, this chromium, nickel and tungsten, we are mixing with steel. Basically steel is metal. So obviously this chromium, nickel and tungsten are also metals. And the final remaining is mica. See, actually India is a top producer of mica. We use mica as insulator in copper wires. And this insulation property is belonging to non-metals. And the question is also asking about non-metals. So mica is the answer. And please try to remember that in addition to being an insulator, mica is also critical for India's ceramic industry. Next one. Why is nickel considered a critical mineral for India's manufacturing industry, especially in the context of stainless steel? See, we have discussed this thing in previous question. We add different materials to steel to bring different properties. Why we add nickel? To make it more strong, we add nickel. To make it bear for high temperatures, we add tungsten. To make it resistant to corrosion, we have seen that we add chromium. And we add copper also to reduce the rust. Here if you see the options, you can mark it directly. Nickel is essential for making alloys like stainless steel and batteries. Yes, so B is the answer. Nickel is primarily used for nuclear power generation. No. For nuclear power generation, we use only thorium and uranium. Uranium though, we don't have deposits. We have very less deposits, especially in Jharkhand and Andhra Pradesh. And thorium though we find in monazite sands. And India is top producer of thorium. So the answer is B. If you see the term here, critical minerals, from past 1 year, we have been listening to it. What are these critical minerals actually mean? Already we have studied about rare earth metals, but these are not rare. Just because they are dispersed in lot of areas, we tell it as rare earth metals. What is this critical minerals mean? Especially the metals whose supply risk is high. That is, we can't get those metals easily, and their impact on economy. That is, we need them so much for our economic growth. If the impact on economy is high, and in addition to that, the supply risk is also high, then we classify it as critical minerals. And we can't simply tell that all rare earth metals belong to critical minerals. No. All non-metals? No. All metals? No. All radioactive? No. Basically, these critical minerals have mix of all these. And remember one thing, the rare earth metals are 17 in number, but the critical minerals, there is no universal list as such. Each country determines its own list. So I think you have understood the difference between rare earth metals and critical minerals. Next one. India's growing electric vehicle industry has led to an increase in demand for which of the following minerals primarily used in lithium-ion batteries? To reduce the fossil fuel consumption, we are striving hard to improve the electric vehicle industry. So if you see the options, in option D, it is mentioning coal. We all know that coal is a fossil fuel, and to reduce the fossil fuel only, we are promoting electrical vehicle. So why would we use coal in lithium-ion batteries? It is outrightly wrong. And if you see the option B, uranium is radioactive. How can we use it in batteries? That too, batteries are used extensively by the people. How can we keep radioactive material in that? So option B is also wrong. And they are telling lithium-ion batteries. So obviously lithium should be there. If you go by this technique, you will mark option A, and option A is right. Just listen. Basically, this is the battery. Here you will have cathode. Here you will have anode. And you will have the wire connected to it, which passes the electricity. For time being, you assume that it is a lithium-ion battery. For lithium-ion battery, there are some specific elements prescribed which we can use as anode and as cathode. For anode, we use only graphite. For cathode, we use lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese, aluminum. See, this is with respect to lithium-ion batteries. Okay. So, lithium-ion batteries contain lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese, aluminum and graphite. So, if you see any of these elements in options, you can outrightly mark them right. If you don't know, you can use such techniques. But what if the option doesn't contain lithium? If they kept manganese here, you will be stuck between A and C, no? So you should have basic idea on what is used as cathode and what is used as anode in lithium-ion battery. Next one. Which of the following strategic minerals does India need to import due to insufficient domestic reserves? This is the key point here. That is critical for defense and aerospace sectors. If you see, the question is asking about insufficient domestic reserves. We all know that India has a lot of iron ore and coal deposits. And mica also. We are a top producer of mica. So outrightly we can eliminate option A, C and D. Answer is B. We have also seen that for high temperature purpose applications, we use tungsten as an alloy for steel. Especially defense and aerospace, they need high temperature. So answer is B. Next one. To secure its future supply of critical minerals like lithium and cobalt for electrical vehicle batteries, see, we have seen in previous question also, what are the elements which we use in electrical vehicle batteries? In that we have discussed this cobalt also. What should India focus on? Okay, we need lithium and cobalt for EV batteries. So what should India do? Increasing coal production domestically. See how silly this option is. If we need lithium and cobalt, what is the need to increase coal production? So it is wrong. Investing in copper and iron ore mining, this is also wrong. Shifting focus to uranium exploration. We need lithium and cobalt, not coal, not uranium and not iron. So if you eliminate option A, C and D, answer is forming international partnerships for mineral exploration and imports. Okay, so B is the answer. Next question. Which category of minerals does fluorite, known for its use in the production of hydrofluoric acid and ceramics, fall under? Here they gave a mineral fluorite and they are asking whether it fall under metallic minerals, non-metallic minerals, energy minerals or industrial minerals. See, we never heard about fluorite, but still we can answer this question. How? They gave a hint, that is, fluorite is used for ceramics. And we know the difference between metals and non-metals, right? We know that metals are conductors and non-metals are insulators. And non-metals are so brittle that they can break down easily. And metals though, it is very hard to break them down. But we can turn them into wires and make them into sheets. Just with this knowledge, we can answer this question. Just think of ceramic bowls which you have in your home. Are they conductors or insulators? Obviously, they are insulators because electricity won't pass through these ceramic bowls, no? And the second thing is, they are so brittle that if the ceramic was broken, it will be made into pieces. We can't turn this ceramic into wires and sheets, right? So, these two are the properties of non-metals. Okay, keep this second point aside. We know that these are insulators. Obviously, insulators means non-metals. So, you can directly go to the answer non-metallic minerals. So, fluorite is a non-metallic mineral and we use it extensively in the production of ceramics. And energy minerals means basically coal, oil, uranium. These are called energy minerals because these are used to produce energy. That's it. Next one. Which of the following statements correctly identifies the primary use of galena? We never heard of galena. How can we answer this question? See, especially this mineral concept is so much fact-based. We have to remember some things. But in the questions, I have showed you some techniques. How can you eliminate the options just by knowing the difference between metallic and non-metallic? And like that, here also, I will tell you some basics. With the help of that, you can eliminate the options. Even though if you don't remember all the minerals, you have to remember some basic minerals and the ores of them. You see the iron ore. Important iron ores are hematite, magnetite. Whenever you see of the words hematite and magnetite, you should think like, array, these are iron ores. And bauxite. It is an ore of aluminium. We get aluminium from bauxite ore only. And copper. The copper ores are malachite and azurite. These are not just random facts. These questions came in lot of UPSC questions, CDS, CAPF, and in some CSC questions also they have asked. Next, titanium. This titanium ore question came in around 2023 CSC, I think. The titanium ore is ilmenite and rutile. These two are ores of titanium. The question is, I think, ilmenite and rutile are the ores of titanium. And lead. Lead ore is galena. This question is asking, what is the primary use of galena? Now you know that galena is the ore of lead. If you know just this basic thing, you can mark the answer right. It is a primary ore of lead often used in batteries and radiation shielding. So lead, answer is B. And if you see other options, aluminium, phosphate, calcium, these has nothing to do with galena. Basically, galena is the ore of lead. So answer is B. Next one. They gave a list of minerals and asking their major use. We all know that coal is the fuel which we use for thermal power. What are these thermal power plants? The plants which use coal to produce the power are called thermal power plants. So A goes with 2. In the copper. Copper is used for electrical wiring. This is also a basic fact. So A, 2 and C, 3. So you can eliminate option C and D. And see the other options. Kyanite and feldspar. We have seen in previous questions also that feldspar is one of the major element of earth crust and we use it to prepare glass materials, ceramic materials as such. So feldspar goes with ceramics. D1. So answer is B. Remember this kaolite is used for stainless steel production. Next one. Which of the following statements correctly defines critical minerals? We are listening this word critical minerals continuously from 1 year. So I'll tell you the relevance here. Basically in 2023, the amendment happened for MMDR Act. Means Mines and Mineral Development and Regulation Act 1957. In this, they brought some regulations regarding the critical minerals and they have mentioned extensively about these critical minerals. That's why the questions are coming repetitively in UPSC like what are the critical minerals, what does it mean, what are the examples of critical minerals, are rare earth a part of critical minerals, like this. So if you see the options, I think we have discussed this previously also. Critical minerals means they are so much important for countries' economic development, but the supply chain risk is there. Whenever you heard of critical minerals, these two words should come into your mind. So if you see the options, see the option C. Critical minerals are those that are essential for economic development and national security. Yes, and whose supply chain is vulnerable due to limited geographical availability. So C is the answer. If you see the other options, these are found abundantly in multiple locations, no significant supply risk. Then what is the need to call them as critical minerals itself? No. Critical minerals are essential for technological advancement but are found only in one country. So ridiculous statement, yeah. And critical minerals are minerals with low demand and not at all relevant for any industry. Really, if it is not at all relevant for any industry, why would government itself talk about it multiple times? So answer is C. Next question. India is highly dependent on imports for which of the following critical minerals? See, many questions on critical minerals. And they are required for advanced manufacturing industries. Lithium, graphite, zirconium, beryllium. Lithium. We need lot of lithium for lithium-ion batteries to manufacture electric vehicles, etc. So it is one of the critical mineral and India doesn't have abundant reserves of lithium, so we have to depend on the imports. I'll ask you one question. There is a term called lithium triangle, which have a lot of reserves of lithium. What are these countries? I'll tell you one tip. You can remember like ABC. Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile. We find lot of lithium reserves here. That's why it is called lithium triangle. These three countries alone supply lot of lithium to many countries. And graphite. Yes, graphite is also a much needed thing for lithium-ion batteries. We have already discussed now that graphite is used as anode in lithium-ion batteries. So we need graphite also and we are depending on imports for that. And zirconium. Zirconium and beryllium has lot of applications in aerospace industry. And we don't have significant reserves of them. Of course, if we have significant reserves of zirconium or beryllium, sometime or other we would have heard now, this state has highest reserves of zirconium, but we never heard. So with whatever the knowledge we have, we can mark this answer easily. So answer is C, 1, 2, 3 and 4. All these 4 elements are so critical for India and we are depending on imports for them. Next one. Which critical minerals listed by the Indian government fall under the category of rare earth elements? Phosphorus. How phosphorus is a rare earth element? Yeah? We use lot of phosphate fertilizers and government gives subsidy. So outrightly we can eliminate C. And silicon also. It is not at all a rare earth element. We find lot of silicon in sand also. And zirconium, vanadium. In last question also we have discussed that these zirconium, vanadium and beryllium, they are so much important especially for our India's aerospace and defense sectors. But these doesn't fall under rare earth elements. Anyhow, as the list of rare earth elements is only 17, you can remember them. See, I have only provided a list of rare earth elements here. If you observe the names, these are so new and we are not at all familiar with all these names. But zirconium, vanadium, we hear a lot of times, no? This erbium, thulium, ytterbium, lutetium, terbium, neodymium. See how tough these names are to pronounce. Even if we see what are the tough names mentioned in the options, you can outrightly mark the right answer. So here, yttrium. rare earth elements. Anyhow, instead of rare earth element, if they give something like lanthanum, you can mention D as right. Cobalt and nickel, we hear of cobalt and nickel lot of times. These are not rare earth elements. Of course, they are critical. Zirconium is also a critical mineral. We need it a lot for our economic growth, but there is a lot of supply chain risk. Most of these elements are critical elements, but not rare earth. Phosphorus and silicon, though they are not rare earth, they are not critical also. So anyhow, answer is D. Next one. What is the challenge associated with extracting lithium from the block found in Jammu Kashmir's Riyasi district? Focus on this question. Read it consciously. They are not asking what are the challenges associated with lithium extraction. They are specifically asking about what is the problem with Jammu Kashmir's lithium. This high cost of attraction, legal hurdles, environmental restrictions are so general. Keep lithium aside. For any mineral, for thorium also, the cost, legal hurdles, environmental restrictions are there. But specifically with Jammu Kashmir, here they found lithium with clay deposits. So India doesn't have a proper technology to extract that lithium from clay. So the presence of untested technology for extracting is the right answer. Next one. India has joined which US-led bloc consisting of large buyers and sellers of critical minerals to enhance mineral security? We are asking US-led bloc. So we can eliminate BRICS because US is not there in BRICS. And if you see the other options and read the question again, they are asking the bloc contains large buyers and sellers of critical minerals. Okay, and it enhances the mineral security. And mineral security is there in C option. So for mineral security, some countries which have large buyers and some countries which have large sellers, they are coming into a partnership. Why? To enhance the mineral security. So obviously, even if you go etymology wise, option C is the answer. You don't need to think much about such questions. Just understand the question and see the options which reflects it properly. So overall in this test, we have discussed extensively about what are rare earth metals, names of them, and why they are called rare earth metals, what are critical minerals, why we call them critical, and what are the examples of critical minerals, what are the minerals which India is needed for economic growth but still we are importing, that is for which we are depending on foreign countries, major minerals and their ores, use of them in industries and daily lives, category of minerals, what are metallic minerals, non-metallic minerals, energy minerals, industrial minerals, and lithium ion battery. What we need for lithium ion battery means what are the minerals needed, what we use in anode, what we use in cathode we have discussed. Also we have discussed different alloys, nuclear fuel material. So with this we have completed the discussion of minerals section of Yukti test series. I hope this discussion gave you a lot of conceptual clarity. And do revise the minerals section multiple times as UPSC is focusing a lot on minerals in these years. And thank you for watching.